Alright guys, Dokkan time, and today we are going to be doing a revisited how to build for the physical Carnival LR Super Saiyan Trunks. So he's gotten an update because we have gotten the LR physical trio, which has, if you double lead them, you can buff the units and allies on the team by 140% extra defense. So that's quite a bit. And I felt that it warranted continuing to do some rebuilds for some other units, and I might even do some other Super Saiyans, some other Owl Struggles, and some all-out other units, potentially. But anyways, Trunks is on one of the banners right now during Worldwide Download Celebration. What you see on my screen in the middle here is my personal build. It doesn't mean that that is the best way to build the unit, it's just my personal way, how I like to use the unit. And the way I like to use the unit is that, you know, it's a damage dealer. That's what Trunks is to me. He's a damage dealer. He can tank decently. Defensively, he's okay. I think he could be better, of course. But I think with the trio, I mean, he's not too bad now. So, but anyways, let's just kind of go over some of his other builds in here. We're gonna first and foremost. I think we're going to go ahead and just go look at his base. We're going to go look at his standby. We'll look at his defense, and then I'll discuss the builds and why I chose to do that. So, as far as his 200% leader options, he's got loads of them in all honesty. Obviously, physical Super Saiyan trio is what you're going to want to ideally go with, or put him on like Beast Gohan's team. Even if you don't do a double physical Super Saiyan trio, maybe at that point you want to go with like a Super Saiyan lead, such as like Vegeta, or the Super Saiyan, the Intelligent Super Saiyan trio. Might be better options to roll with that. But ideally, you run them on physical Super Saiyan trio for that double 70% support, defensively wise. As far as that goes. The one thing I will tell you about the LR physical trio is that he is only on their 170, not their 200. He is a time traveler 200% leader. He raises attack and defense by 30% on his 12 key, and then he stacks his defense by 30% and greatly raises his attack for one turn on his 18 key. He does have an intro, which gives him key plus 3 and an additional 70% chance to do a super attack. And that's only for four turns. He has key plus 3, attack and defense 150, plus an additional attack plus 1 performing super. He gets key plus 1 up to 5 and defense up to 50% with each attack performed. That's an attack, which means it can be a normal. Reduces damage received by 10% with each super attack performed within the turn. So he has to perform 3 super attacks in order to get his 30% damage reduction. He gets plus an additional attack 100% and launches an additional attack that has a 50% chance to become a super attack in the second or third slot, and then launches an additional attack that has a high chance of becoming a super attack starting from the 5th turn from the start of the turn, which is a 50% chance. And then, of course, he can go into standby 5th turn from the character's entry turn. So an interesting thing to note here is that this right here is starting from the 5th turn from the start of battle. His intro is from his first appearance for 4 turns. So technically speaking, if he appears on turn 2 or turn 3, you can actually penta super 5 times. You can super attack 5 times. But once the intro runs out, you will only be able to quad super in total with your hidden potential going off as well. As far as his links go, they're standard Super Saiyan links except for Royal Lineage and Dismal Future, so obviously his best link partners are going to be he himself and his dad and other Super Saiyan units. So Vegeta's, other Trunks' Super Saiyan units, those are all his best link partners and who I would suggest running him with in total. Once he goes into his standby mode, that is when I feel he actually becomes a more usable-esque unit. He gets both weaker and stronger. His actual 12 and 18 key do not change. Those stay the same. He does get key plus 12 and attack and defense 200, plus an additional attack 150 when performing super. He then also launches an additional attack that has a 70% chance of becoming a super attack and reduces damage received by 50% for one turn. He guards all attacks and launches an additional super that has a 70% chance of becoming a super attack as the first attacker in turn. Then he launches an additional super attack with 5 or more key spheres attained, and then randomly changes key spheres of a certain type, rainbow key spheres. And he gets an attack of 50% temporarily per charge count and causes super ultimate damage to the enemy as his standby finish. So interesting keynote thing here is that his passive gets immensely smaller. Actually, it doesn't look like it got super small, but it actually did. Because this right here is for 1 turn only. The first turn that you pop his standby is when he gets that 50% damage reduction and that 70% chance to launch an additional. Removing that and you going on to the next turn, he only has this launch an additional super, and then he has the 70% chance to slot 1. So he can only do his super, the slot 1, the 5 key spheres, and then his hidden potential. But once again, you know, if it's the first turn, you know, in slot 1, then you can have a penta, but otherwise, no. 1 sec. But yeah, so let's just go ahead and go over his defense options over here. So as far as his, that is not the freaking, I really hate Twitter. So if we go look at Halvard's old defense options here, full build up in base, he doesn't look super impressive. Start of turn defense is only 335, so he's not necessarily a slot 1 unit. With 3 super attack effects, you know, it's 600k. That does sound nice, but that's rainbowed 200% team with support. You know, okay, so with support it's like 730, but still, that's rainbow 200% with 3 super attack effects. So that's a super. That's an 18 key super on turn 1, 3, and 5. So he has to get that 18 key off every single turn in order to hit those numbers. But once you go into his standby mode, his start of turn defense actually goes lower because he actually loses stats, unfortunately, because his passive changes so dramatically. So his defense actually drops dramatically down to like the 577 range. So in order to get back up to that like 600-700 range, you would need to do at least 1 or 2 other supers in order to hit a reliable defense number there. The trade-off is there because he has 50% chance or 50% damage reduction after he super attacks for the first turn in slot 1, and then he has guard. That guard is what they're hoping is going to carry you. It's primarily the guard. But yeah, I mean, he does reduce damage. Yeah, it launches additional attack that has a 70% chance of going super and reduces damage received by 50% for 1 turn. Okay, so no, he has the 50% for 1 turn. So for the very first turn that you stand by with this unit, you can put him in slot 1, but that is it. I would say if you have 4 stacks, so turn 1, 3, 5, and 7 on the 18 key super, if he's fully built up, has the Super Saiyan Duo's support, has a Bulma buff, and potentially even another support, I think he would just barely have enough defense to actually tank a, you know, like a good portion of the fights. I mean, really, that 50% damage reduction along with the guard does go a long way. So, I mean, he is a lot more reliable. You just have to be very finicky about it because you have to be careful when to activate the standby. Standby is a little difficult to rock right now in this current meta of the game because you have units like the STR Super Saiyan Goku that we just got, the Carnival Super Saiyan Gohan. You know, we have to worry about having to activate his standby. The Fizz Trio has a standby. You know, I mean, we have conflicting standbys, and you know, if no one told you, but you can only activate 1 standby at a time. It's the same thing of the domain issue, except last year and even earlier in the year, we didn't have the issue necessarily where domains were really conflicting per se, or not domains, but standbys were not conflicting per se. Domains have been conflicting constantly. But with standbys, we haven't really hit that point where it was constantly back and forth. Maybe with the 8th anniversary units, because a lot of people like to run them together, but often at the time it's not the best choice. It was best to run them on their own teams. But yeah, that is the issue I see right now with this Trunks, is the standby. Because you want to give the standby to, like, the STR Gohan. But at the same time, if you didn't get the STR Gohan, you know, and you don't have him on the team, then, he's not a bad unit to use at all. You just have to time the use of his standby. I think he looks a lot better now. I do. I think he looks a lot better. So as far as his partners go, Physical Super Saiyan Trio, other Trunks, future Gohans, he's a slot 2 and 3 unit. I would highly suggest that you just keep him into slot 2 or 3. And then, you know, put him on Physical Super Saiyan Trio's team, his own team with Time Travelers. But yeah, the support does help him quite a bit. I'm going to go ahead and just slow down these builds. I'm going to stop looping them, and I'll do a quick little rundown of this right here. So as far as his builds go, the 55%, you should just go ahead and put in additional. At 55%, Trunks is pretty weak. He's got no crit, he's got no attacks effective against all types, he's got nothing. So, I mean, unless you're just planning to literally have Bro just be on the team chilling, he's not really doing anything at 55. So just give him the additional and move on. If you get 2 dupes with him, you can have one of 2 choices of how to use the unit, and it's either my choice or the community general response that I have always seen with this unit. My personal choice is going with crit and additional. As you saw before, I had a good even 20-20 split with my equipment on him. But a large portion of the community that I've seen use Trunks and reacted with Trunks and showing him off, usually they always say they give him dodge and additional, and they try to use him as a defensive unit. And I just don't think that that's a good plan for him personally. It doesn't mean that you can't do it. It's definitely viable. But personally, in my opinion, how I like to use him is a damage dealer. I liked him to do damage. You know, I think the crit is warranted as long as you go into standby and you get enough charges to use the standby finish. With all of his additionals going off, I think he can do some decent damage numbers, especially in this day with Physical Super Saiyan Trio, and we're getting better supports and better units every day. I think just like Turles Gang and Broly's, and this celebration is reviving a lot of units. I'm noticing that they're reviving a lot of units. They're making older units playable, even though they kind of purposely made them worse before. But anyways, that's going to be pretty much my my build for him. Otherwise, here's the role tips if you want to take a quick look at that. As I said before, Super Saiyan is probably his best team as of current meta. Physical Super Saiyan Trio is the best you can rock, even though he's only a 170. The 70% support from a dual Phys Super Saiyan Trio leads will make up for the lack of 30% from both the leader skills. And as far as his best partners go, I mean, just get a future Gohan with him, or another Trunks along with him, or just, you know, obviously just run him on rotation with the other Physical Super Saiyan Trio. Anyways, guys, do let me know how you are going to decide to build this physical Trunks, or if you've already got him built. Remember, we are still at the current point right now where you can rebuild a unit pretty much. And I'm not going to say you can rebuild a unit for free, but you do have the option of where is it? It was in the news before. Where is it? Where is it? Bruh, where is it? Where is it? There is, okay, so you can actually use only 1 stone to change someone's hidden potential. So right now, if I wanted to swap out this, I'm not going to, just trying to show you, it only costs 1 dragon stone right now to change the hidden potential. So if this changed your mind and you want to build Trunks a different way, please do let me know down in the comments. Let me know how you're going to use this Trunks, and what teams you're going to run with him. What units are you going to run with him? Anyways, guys, thanks for watching. Have a good day and a good night.